All right, well, we are at the top of the hour. The time is now 2 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Just a few housekeeping items. All lines currently are muted just to cut down on any background noise and feedback, but certainly that does not mean that we don't want to hear from you today. So we're going to do our best to leave some time at the very end for any and all questions, but feel free as needed to use that chat box. We'll certainly try to keep an eye on that. If by chance we do run out of time, we will, certainly follow up with each and everybody at the end of this. We got some special guests joining us today from Engaging Networks, and today we're going to be talking about tying it all together. So fruitfully managing online and offline engagement data. So I'm going to turn this over to Stu. We're going to kick this off for you.
Thanks, Pat. This is Stu Manowith, and we are all going to introduce ourselves in a few minutes, but we wanted to kick this off by setting the tone and presenting a few statistics about online engagement. And we got these from a number of different sources, including the Blackboard Institute, nonprofitsource.com. All of those organizations have generated some good statistics on online engagement. But if we just start by looking at some recent and a little bit longer past history, online engagement in 2019 grew almost 7% year over year from the previous year. Online giving back to 2012 to today, or to 2018, grew 75%. So that's almost double. Over the past 6 years, online giving grew from 12 billion a year to more than 31 billion a year. So that's almost triple revenue coming from online giving. Online retention has outpaced offline retention for both new and existing donors. And if we look at some online email statistics, Pat, could you go to the next slide? Thank you. Email lists grew by 8% in 2019 and by over 40% over the previous 3 years. Email messaging drove 28% of all online revenue, and click-through rates for newsletters grew by almost 13% in 2009. And that was just kind of us cherry picking some, what I thought were some interesting statistics. There's a lot more, but with that in mind, with those statistics in mind, think about how these numbers are going to increase in even further over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years in online engagement, and ask yourself, are you behind the curve or ahead of it? Are you prepared to use data from all sources, online and offline, to effectively engage, as effectively as possible with current donors, future donors, and other constituents? And so that sets the tone for what we're going to talk about this afternoon. We're going to start with a really brief history of how nonprofit online engagement has evolved over the past, say, 40 years. Online engagement, we're going to look at online engagement in today's nonprofits and talk about best of breed solutions versus integrated systems. We're going to talk about, again, at a high level, the future of online engagement for nonprofits. And then our friends from Engaging Networks, John from Engaging Networks, is going to talk about Engaging Networks as a one-stop shop for digital engagement. And Pat from Omatic will talk a little bit about why data centralization is imperative and tying digital engagement back to your CRM system, which I believe for most of the people on this call is either Razor's Edge or Razor's Edge NXT. So now that we've set the tone, we'll introduce ourselves. I'm Stu Manowith. I'm Omatic's nonprofit advocacy director. What that means is that my job is to really keep my ear to the ground of the nonprofit sector and make sure that Omatic, as a vendor and as a partner to the nonprofit sector, a technology partner, is providing products and services that meet the needs of today's nonprofits. Pat?
Yeah, so good afternoon, and thank you to each and every one of you joining us today. My name is Pat Deming. I am a senior sales enablement engineer, or solutions engineer, whichever you want to call me, here at Omatic. So a little bit about myself. So I actually, like many of us here, came from the world of Blackbaud. So I actually worked in the education space there. So I worked with K-12 schools, primarily up in the Northeast. but had to get away from the snow and the cold weather, so relocated here to Charleston, South Carolina, where Omatic is located, and absolutely love really helping each and every one of your organizations reach the true power of your mission. It's something I am very passionate about. I am a firm believer that the more successful nonprofits that we have today, the better world that we would live in. So, from each and every one of us here at Omatic and Engaging Networks, we just want to say thank you for everything that you all do and stand for at your organizations. And John?
Hi, I'm John Samatowski. I'm the sales engineer for Engaging Networks. My background is in fundraising and communications for a variety of nonprofit organizations, all in the healthcare arena, dealing with things like multiple sclerosis, diabetes, and cancer. I worked for Blackbaud for 3 years as an implementation consultant for some of their internet products, and by extension, I got to know Razor's Edge and also worked with Stu on a couple of client implementation projects. So it's great to be getting the band back together here, Stu.
Yep.
Sure. And to Pat's point about fleeing the snow and cold to Boston, well, I'm actually in the process of moving back to Boston from the Washington, D.C. area. So going to be a remote employee now, living back up in the Northeast. So, one of the things that we really see from a digital perspective is the absolute need to integrate digital data with offline data. And so that's why we're so delighted to have Omatic as one of our partners, building out a fantastic integration from Engaging Networks through Omatic on into Razor's Edge and back.
Awesome. Thank you both. So for those of you joining us today who are maybe not familiar with Omatic or never heard of us before, just a quick background on who we are. So we have been around for quite a while now, about 18 years in the works. So we've been doing some data integration for quite a while now. Now we are a proud partner of Blackbaud. We actually are their oldest and largest technology partner. We are located in Charleston, South Carolina, just actually across the water from where Blackbaud is located as well. We are growing at a very rapid pace. So not just with our team members, I believe, Stu, we're up over 75 now. So that seems to be growing daily.
I think we're at 80, to be honest. We should update this slide.
Yeah, so we're bursting at the seams here. And then we're also growing in our client base as well. So we're serving over 2,700 organizations worldwide. So we work with clients all across the nonprofit sectors, and with our team members, we're definitely few but mighty. So we have individuals coming from developers to professional services. So really we're here to take care of your data integration needs, help you turn those data into relationships, and really make sure that you're maximizing the fullest potential with the Omatic solutions that we offer. And I'm going to turn this over now to John to tell you a little bit about Engaging Networks.
So Engaging Networks has been around for over 20 years, so founded way back in 1999, initially as an advocacy platform called Advocacy Online, but then we quickly added in tools to do digital engagement like email and SMS and all kinds of fundraising tools, not just your traditional donation pages, but peer-to-peer membership and e-commerce and other ways. We were founded in London 20 years ago, and so we figured out how to do multi-language, multiple currency on pages very easily, very early in our lifespan. I now have about 450 clients across the globe, lots of multinationals and lots of wide variety of organizations, as you'll see a little bit later. And we're also on the forefront of nonprofit technology. We have a sister company called Accessible Intelligence, which is bringing the power of machine learning to what you do for digital engagement to automatically build out engagements for your supporters, even sourcing the content from past emails. So if you want to try to do the work of 10 people, well, our Accessible Intelligence service might well help you do that. I'll say a bit more about that later.
Great, thank you so much, John. So we're going to start with, like I said, a brief history of online engagement, where we come from. As you might tell from my picture, I'm a man of a certain age. I entered the workforce in 1987, and back then we had no email, no internet. Ironically, at the organization that I worked for, which was a fundraising organization, we had a dial-up modem for data exchange and a single terminal for data entry. And while our email, hey, Pat, could you go back to the previous slide? Sorry. while our email, we didn't have email, you know, when you think about email back in the day, it looked like this. This is actually from 2006, but I more think of this as being from like 1991. John, when we were preparing for this webinar, reminded me that this looks like it came from an AS400 system, which is a really old green screen system that organizations used back in the day. But in the 1980s, there really was no online engagement. We had nothing in the way of technology. The 1990s is the era of what I'm calling the incipient internet. The first nonprofit websites, nonprofits did start using email. I worked for a big hospital foundation in St. Louis at that time. And when I first started working there, we had something called Eudora and then GroupWise. And then in the 2000s, early nonprofit pace setters, early nonprofit online giving and event registrations. And as John said, Engaging Networks was started in 1999. Convio was started in 1999, which built Luminate, which Blackboard acquired. And Kintera, one of its main competitors, was established in 2000. So that was kind of the era of the nonprofit pace setters. 2008 was a watershed year because the Obama campaign started forcing advances in political fundraising and in email marketing. And that was the advent of Blue State Digital, and that blazed the trail for nonprofit organizations to get more focused on internet marketing. And then, of course, in the last 10 years, there's been advances in internet pervasiveness that have paved the way for ubiquitous online engagement across the board. So, so think of that in perspective. How has your organization's online presence grown in the past 20 years? What have been the implications for Razor's Edge or whatever your main database of record is? Growth of data and the ability to effectively manage all of that data and make it work for you and keep it current and clean and complete. All of those 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you didn't have to worry about it. And with the advent of online engagement and online fundraising and all the data that comes from it into your back office system, into your offline system, you've got to think about those things. And so, that leads very well into where are you today? In today's nonprofit environments, most nonprofits need functionality and will have data coming in from a variety of different functions that support relationship building, fundraising, other engagement, and other engagement functions. We're listing them on the slide here: constituent self-service, online donations, online events, peer-to-peer events. Interestingly, peer-to-peer is an advent and an outcome of the ability to effectively conduct online fundraising and online event registration. Similar with personal fundraising pages. Email marketing, both for fundraising and for mission delivery. So there's all of these different functions and all of these different data sources that have to be done, and with data that have to be leveraged. And so the questions that nonprofits need to ask themselves is, what's the best way to leverage all the data from all this needed functionality? And how will you integrate all of this data from all these systems into the Razor's Edge or whatever system of record you use as your back office CRM? So there's a couple of different approaches that organizations can take, and these have kind of come a cropper, over the last 10 years. Best of breed are separate solutions. Each solution does one thing exceptionally well. For example, MailChimp for email, Volunteer Hub for volunteer management, Cvent for events, etc. We juxtapose that against an integrated approach, systems that come to you with a full suite of functions. They've got a common user interface, a common data repository. They may not do certain functions as well as others. or as well as some of the best of breeds, but it's all in a single integrated suite that everybody can get comfortable with. And what's interesting too is that integrated online engagement systems have themselves become a breed. And we're doing this this webinar today with Engaging Networks because we at Omatic think that Engaging Networks is among the best of that breed. But regardless of whether you use individual best of breed solutions or an integrated suite, the question is, what are the implications for your back office system of record? It's rare that online engagement systems, either best of breed or suites, are built to naturally integrate with systems of record like Razor's Edge or Salesforce, but integration is imperative. So again, the question needs to be raised: how will you integrate? And there's a whole lot of questions that you can ask. Regardless of the model that you adopt, it's imperative that you think about the integration implications. While suites like Engaging Networks may address multiple challenges simultaneously, there still needs to be integration with the system of record. End users need access to online and offline data together in order to fundraise as effectively as possible. And what is that integration going to look like? What does it look like? Is it efficient? Is it effective? Is it complex? Who owns it? Does the back office database administrator own it? Does the online database manager own it? And I guess most importantly for long term, are you effectively using all of the data at your disposal to engage with current and prospective donors? So there's a lot of questions to think about, and that's a good segue into where are you going with online engagement. I guess the conventional wisdom is, based on what we've talked about and on those statistics that we shared early on, is it's just going to keep growing. There's going to be more and more and more and more. Think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, online interactions and engagement opportunities are going to continue to blossom. They will greatly exceed current volumes. There will be more online, there'll be more mobile, there'll be more data to manage, to coordinate, and to integrate. There will need to be, excuse me, a greater investment in online systems to handle it all. There'll need to be a greater investment in offline systems and the integrations to them. Just think about, for anyone who uses Razor's Edge NXT, more data, more constituent records. It's going to mean more costly. It's going to be a more costly solution. And all of that data can be worth the additional investment if it's going to ensure a better chance of hitting the mark with fundraising audiences across the board, across age groups, up and down the donor pyramid. If you can use all of that data to build the best relationships and raise more money, if the data are properly leveraged. But everyone else is going to be making similar investments, and so there's greater risk of failure versus those who compete for donors' charitable dollars. And with more and more and more data to integrate, it can't be done badly. If data are integrated inaccurately or unhygienically or not at all, constituent experience could suffer or be absent entirely. And it can't be done manually. There's simply too much data, too much risk of errors, too many other users depending on expedient access to data from all of these different sources that they need to use to be effective in their fundraising activities. The data have to be current and clean and complete. The data quality will have a direct impact on acquisition, on retention, and on overall fundraising outcomes. And data integrity is going to drive fundraising effectiveness. So that's kind of a like I said, a past, present, and future of online engagement in about a 15-minute segment. I'm now going to turn the next segment over to John to talk about Engaging Networks as a one-stop shop for online engagement, and then Pat from Omatic will talk about integration imperatives.
Great, thanks, Stu. So just to start off, for those of you who don't know Engaging Networks, so we have been around since 1999, headquartered now in Washington, D.C., still an office in London, and the sun never sets on the Engaging Network support team, since we now have support team members in the San Francisco Bay Area and also now Perth, Australia. So constantly growing, more and more staff, more and more clients. And one key point here is that we are the last of the independent platforms. While everyone else has been acquired by others in this space or by venture capital firms, we are still independent, which means that we are beholden only to our clients. So when other platforms get acquired, some of those platforms go away and you have to migrate from one platform to another, or you lose that ability to get those support people that you relied on so much, whereas we are still remaining independent, we are not for sale. And we've also started a sister company called Accessible Intelligence, which is bringing the power of machine learning to automated supporter journeys. So moving on from here, what is Engaging Networks? So we are that integrated digital platform that Stu spoke of, or call us an ECRM, you can call us either one. And this gives you the ability, like here in this illustration, creating a marketing automation journey with a drag and drop editor on there, so you can easily visualize the journey your supporters are going to go on. You can then put different messaging into this. It could be email, could be SMS, could also be ad posts as well for Facebook or Google Ads, for example. Ultimately, what your goal here is to get your supporters to then donate, sign, advocate, whatever that action is you want them to take, that messaging inside those emails and SMS, guiding them to do that. And then ultimately what they do here in Engaging Networks in a digital sense will then also integrate over to Razor's Edge through tools like Omatic. So moving on from here, taking a look at here's a quick look at who some of our clients are. Many of these clients using Razor's Edge as their database of record, and also some other tools as well. And so wide variety of organizations. A lot of these clients have abandoned their former digital tools in favor of our platform, but still held on to their Razor's Edge instance and using Omatic to integrate that data from Engaging Networks to Razor's Edge. So taking a look now at what's inside of Engaging Networks, or actually why an integrated platform, and it really comes down to one word: linkage. So on the left is an email sent to me this morning from our client OCEANA, and they've personalized that email, did a nice design with this email, giving me a couple links to then get myself over to a donation page where I can help support their efforts. And they've also repeated some of that design element here into the donation forms of both of these, hosted by Engaging Networks. And because of that link between that email, and we do encoded links on all of these hyperlinks inside the email, that then will populate supporter data onto the form. So that way you reduce the friction for your supporter, make it that much easier for them to take action. And that even goes a step further into things like next suggested gift streams, which I'll say a little bit more in a moment. Moving on from here onto taking a look at how does digital engagement ultimately work and how can you make it better. So here's the process. You segment based on your past actions. You send email or SMS messages. Your supporters take actions, but then what? And typically it's rinse and repeat. Just take those same supporters, push them back through. How can you be more effective with this though? Use those marketing automation tools to nudge your non-responders. So in that journey, just send out that automatic reminder email to the person who has yet to take action. But inform your actions with offline data as well, because Omatic provides a two-way sync between Engaging Networks and Razor's Edge, online data over to RE and offline data from RE back over to Engaging Networks, so that we can better inform that. And one of those places is with this next suggested gift string, where we can create unique ask strings in our emails and on our donation pages for each and every donor based on their highest previous gift, or you can push in another value. The Omatic tool provides that ability to say push in maybe most recent gift or average of the last three, whatever that value is. Then you can create a scoring model like shown here in the bottom left, where if the highest gift was below $100, we're going to have one set of math there using some percent add-ons, whereas if it's between 100 and 500, then we'll do fixed dollar amounts. So for example, if my gift was $200 in the lower rung here, I would then see values of 200, 250, and 300. Whereas if Stu, as a major donor, is given $500 in the past, he's going to see 500, 550, and 600. So unique ask strings for each supporter.
John, I think that's a really great feature that you all offer with Engaging Networks. I know I'm in the market we hear today of, it's all about customization. It's all about being able to send the right message at the right time. And I think that's something that Engaging Networks has, does really, really well. And it really gives the power and control, back to your users to really get creative and build out targeted audiences. So I absolutely love that feature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been used to such great effect by so many clients, and you can create multiple different strings and do different strings if it's recurring donors that you're targeting. So yeah, thanks Pat for that commentary, and it is a great feature, and that's it really came about from listening to clients and building out these features in the platform. So when clients start to look at their existing digital tools and they want to start on that process of finding some new tools, some of the things to consider are innovation. So does the system say include things like automation? Where are they going with mobile wallets? And at Engaging Networks, Apple Pay, Google Pay Send, as added on with Stripe in our September release this year. Also working on PayPal One Touch, as well as Amazon Pay. So more and more opportunities. Also social ad integration, being able to define the audience that you want to target with your Facebook and Google ads right from the Engaging Networks dashboard, and through APIs push that data set over to Facebook or to Google Ads, and then target those audiences outside of the platform and guide them back to take actions. When it comes to customization of your pages and of your emails, really want to start from mobile, and so getting a mobile optimized version. This page from Humane Society International, HSI.org. If you want to go take a look at that page, that same page on a mobile device. You're going to find it looks great, whether it's on desktop or on mobile. These tools feature drag and drop editors to easily create your pages. That's something you really want to consider is ease of use, but still have that ability to add in custom JavaScript or CSS into your pages to really get the styling and design that you want to. So ease of use, you get the best of both worlds, ease of use and high customization. But then the other thing that really I think sets Engaging Networks apart from other platforms in this space is the quality of our client support. We have some of our longest tenured team members are on our support team. We don't force someone to create a ticket and wait for a callback. You get direct access to our support team. All of our training resources are free. We want our clients to know how to use the software, and you always get that expert help, whether it's from our client support team or other members of the team, and also with some client support conferences that we do throughout the year. So when it comes to looking at solutions out there, Stu mentioned some of the different approaches here. So there's a lot of all-in-one platforms that claim to be both a CRM and digital engagement. Well, you can't do everything well, and that's why we at Engaging Networks focus on digital and then provide, work with integration partners like Omatic to integrate with really high-quality CRMs. Ultimately, with all the ones, you're going to have some compromises there on either on the digital side or the CRM side or both. Not going to get all the features you need, incomplete feature sets, and ultimately it's easy to outgrow these systems. So if you might find yourself moving again at some point in the future. Point solutions, there was a lot of discussion about point solutions many years back. I was talking with a former colleague at Partners Healthcare in Boston, and he was really pushing for point solutions prior to really understanding that there were some new eCRMs that were really building out some great feature sets. The problem with point solutions, you have different types of data, different data structures, and that makes it hard to then integrate all of that back. You've got completely separate integrations that you need to do to get all that stuff back in a Razor's Edge if you can. With great news, Omatic has so many ways to get data in and out of Razor's Edge, so they've probably got a solution. And then ultimately you have to learn how to use multiple tools. So if you're using one tool for sending email and another tool for sending your donations, you also don't have that linkage of being able to populate form fields. So what do you need in this space for digital? You really need that modern, robust digital tools. It needs to be easy to use and free to learn. And you really need a true integration to your system of record, and likely Razor's Edge in this case. So what do you need? You need Engaging Networks and Omatic. So in terms of where we're going beyond digital into accessible intelligence, our sister company, Accessible Intelligence, will automatically build out marketing automation journeys. This the item you're seeing on the left is a journey that is going to identify one-time donors to provide a conversion to get them to become a recurring donor. And so it's automatically going to build out the series of messages, including those wait periods, and define that from data that we crunch inside the platform. And on the right, you're seeing an email sent by our client, Rainforest Action Network, where we've gone in and done content scoring. So we have a team that goes through and reads all those emails and applies things like emotive content, the focus, the location, all of those things that become elements that then the AI tools use to then build the content for your email. So when a lot of people talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning with respect to nonprofits, what they're really talking about is glorified analytics. What we're providing at Accessible Intelligence is actual tools to do the delivery of messaging to your supporters, building out that content, allowing you as the client to review that prior to sending out, make some tweaks to it if you need to. But then the results kind of speak for themselves on this next slide. And so from Rainforest Action Network, some outstanding, phenomenal results. So keying in on the left side here for email engagement, and they broke down their list, so it was really easy to do some analysis for the regular communication channel. Through the month of January, they had a 15.3% open rate, 18.3 for some of the through May with some of the regular communications. But the messages sent through Accessible Intelligence, building out that content for them, building out that workflow of messages, had a phenomenal 25.5% open rate. So that's stage one, getting your supporter to open the email, because then once they open it, they can then see what you have to say and take action. And then the actions were unbelievable in terms of the goal here of upselling a one-time donor to sustainers. So they had some data groups that they were able to compare. So this is really good statistical analysis here, and look at those numbers. So they got some, a little bit more in January than May than they in their overall communication channels. But those supporters who were then sent messaging through Accessible Intelligence, that was 866% better than what they were getting from the emails they were building themselves and sending out. So it just shows the power that when you have a very powerful algorithm built by some really smart data scientists, you can pull that from that data the likely supporters to take that action, build out the content that from that data modeling, what's going to work with those similar supporters to the ones who actually prior took actions, which are ultimately modeling this against, and get these phenomenal results. And guess what? Nobody had to sit there and write out 8 or 10 emails, because the software did it for them automatically. They just had to review it and hit the send button, and then the journey took over, and the results here are extremely impressive. So this is taking data to the nth level here. So the more you can pull in offline data into this modeling, then the better the model is going to be, and you're going to get results like this.
Thanks so much, John. That was awesome, and that last slide, that was really, really cool stuff. I'd like to now reintroduce Pat from Omatic, who will take the next step.
All right, thank you, Stu. Thank you, John. Some really, really exciting, great things happening over at Engage Network. So if you are currently on that platform today, you are seeing kind of the power firsthand. If it's something that you are currently exploring, I definitely highly recommend getting in contact with John and his team and learning more. So what I want to talk about with you is how do we tie it all together? So now that you're going to be using Engage Networks, if you're not already, well, how do I get that data into Razor's Edge? Or if you're not using Engage Networks, you have a different type of platform, I want to pose the question to you today of how are you getting that data into Razor's Edge? Is it manually input? Is it some other type of connector or import tool that you're using? Or is it just a complex process? Or you don't at all? So I kind of want to turn this over to everybody. If you feel free to just use the chat feature, give me a quick chat on the answer of what you're using. Give you just a quick second here to do that. It looks like we have some answers coming in. It looks like it's a complex process. We currently don't have a few out there that's manually doing it. And the reason I asked this question is that, regardless of, how you're doing this today, there's certainly going to be some implications that, this can have. So I asked the question of how is your donor experience today? As Stu talked about, like, where have you come from? Where are you today? And where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10 years? And, unfortunately right now, the previous year's statistics certainly don't lie. So from the AFP Fundraising Effectiveness Survey report, about 29% is the average donor retention rate for first year offline only donors. And unfortunately, only 21% of those are retention rates of first year online only donors. And right now we're seeing about 45.5%, almost 46% is really that average donor retention rate, which is, a lot lower than what we really need to see if we want to continue to grow, continue to drive our missions, continue to really effective fundraise. So what are some negative effects of poor supporter experiences if you're having to bring that data in from the various endpoints and the various systems, or from Engaging Networks into Raiser's Edge? What can human errors create? Or if you're having some struggles today with maybe an import tool that you're using, what are some of the negative effects? Well, we could see things like somebody making their first online donation ever. That's kind of the world we live in today, where everything is transitioning to online. Maybe this is new for you all as well, with the kind of the times that we live in today with COVID and events and things like that kind of being shut down. Maybe you've had to rethink your strategy, so you have a lot of first-time online givers. And, mistakes can happen. The thing is what's happening with those mistakes when you bring it over from those systems. If you're manually entering it, or if you're using just kind of a standard import tool, is that looking for duplications? Is that catching those errors? Or is it just creating new records inside of Raiser's Edge that can really leave a lasting impression on the positive side as well as on the negative side to your donors? A good example of this actually happened to me in the past. So an organization that I had made several donations to, I made a donation, and really not even thinking, I typed in my name under the donation as Pat Deming. Now, I had made several donations to this organization in the past under the name of Patrick as well. So when I received my acknowledgement letter, I was a little shocked to see that it was addressed to Miss Pat Deming. So I'm thinking, well, I'm not married, and I hope if I make a donation, I don't get a free wife in the mail. So what's going on? What are they doing with my data? And even worse, is my donation even important to them? If they can't manage my data and they can't keep my record straight, well then, what are they doing with my money? So it really left a negative taste in my mouth, and I haven't made a donation since. If it's happened to me, I can guarantee that it's happened to several others out there. And what we want to do is help eliminate that burden off your plate, bridge that gap between, the various endpoints and with the Engaging Networks that you're using, and create that positive supporter experience and helping you become better stewards of your data. So just like there was an impact on me with my donation, there can be several other negative impacts that errors and unclean data can have. So it can create, lack of donor confidence. I'm wondering, if you can't keep my data clean, what are you really doing with my money? It can also cause a lack of fundraiser confidence. If you can't trust the systems to manage your data, what can you do from there? There can certainly be missed opportunities if it's creating, duplicate records and your data is just kind of all over the place or unclean. You're getting, mixed records out there, and it's creating missed opportunities. It can certainly cause confusing calls to action. There can be the donor lapse, and there's tangible and intangible costs associated with that. So not just money being lost, but just like there was a sour taste in my mouth, and I'd never made a donation since, if that happens to me and 10 others and this trickle-down effect happens, what does that mean towards your overall goal? And then obviously inaccurate reporting. With engaging networks, as you've seen from John's presentation that platform is a very robust platform. There's a lot of power that it gives you to be able to really drive your mission, to be able to drive effective fundraising. And the good news is, regardless of what endpoint that you are using the engaging networks for, and there's a lot of endpoints there, so things like advocacy and donations and email activity and certain events and peer-to-peer, and even recurring donations and supporters. The good news is that Omatic can certainly help you with this. So long gone are the days of having to worry about unclean data. Long gone are the days of having to spend countless hours and days of manually inputting that data in to Razor's Edge, because Omatic has a connector that can help you do that. So it is a direct API integration to the platform of Engaging Networks. And essentially what we've done is we have worked hand in hand with Engaging Networks product team to basically peel off the back of that system, allow you to connect to all of the moving parts, and very easily bring that data into Razor's Edge while giving you full power and control over where that data goes, what it's going to look like, and then most importantly, making sure that we're catching all duplicates long before new records ever get created. Now, I want to give a big shout out to our products team, because we really have thought of absolutely everything when we created this connector. So we also have enhanced our connector by offering query results connection. So any field that you can query on within Engaging Networks, you can also bring that data over as well.
Yeah, Pat, I think one of the big advantages to the Omatic tool with the query results is for email segmentation, because you can do emails, you can select that audience using a query in Razor's Edge, push that over to Engaging Networks as what we call an external CRM segment, and therefore have that audience that you selected in RE represented in Engaging Networks, and therefore send the email from Engaging Networks to that same group of supporters without having to export a list and then manually import it. It's because of the strength of the Omatic tools that is possible.
Absolutely, and I think really, what this kind of control and this power is going to give, our users and our customers is, the biggest thing that I hear is, we love Engaging Networks, we're using it for all these various things, but because we're having to manually enter that data into Razor's Edge, we're very limited right now, or because it takes so much time, like we're just using it for basic functionality. Well, that's not why Engaging Networks was developed. We want to, or you guys want to help your customers, fundraise effective. What Omatic wants to do is eliminate that burden off your plate, give you the time back in your day to focus now on being able to use and leverage that data, and less time being spent on, having to clean it up or, managing those manual records that you're having to create. So how this process works is our Engaging Networks connector really gives you full control and flexibility over where that data goes in Razor's Edge, what it looks like, and what criteria you want it to search for to find duplications. So you have the ability to map data from Engaging Networks to any field within any module inside of Razor's Edge. You're also, so this gives you the ability to take things like, if you're running a campaign or if you're running an event, to be able to map it to a different area in Razor's Edge. Maybe you want that data mapped to your 2020 fund or whatever that may be. So you now have control to be able to take that data and place it where you need it to make it actionable. Most importantly, you're going to be able to clean up the data and format it with how you want it to look. So long gone are the days of having to clean up records or go back and create some standardizations and proper case names, because we're going to take care of that for you. So we offer you some data cleanup tools to be able to do just that. So doing things like proper casing names and creating some consistencies and standardizations with your email addresses. So being able to kind of format things and that data with how you need it to look. And then we offer plenty of business rules that really work hand in hand with all of your Razor's Edge functionality And this also allows you to define the criteria of what you want it to search for to find duplicates and what you want that data to do or not do if a potential match is found. This also gives you the control power to really decide of kind of how interactive you want to be during the import, or we also give you the ability to automate as much of that matching process as you want as well, so that you're not having to spend hours upon hours sitting in front of your computer while the import is happening. We want to take that off your plate as well. So like I said, we give you the ability to not only define the criteria that you want it to search for to find matches, but how many characters across each you want it to search for as well. And then we offer an automated process right along with that, so that we can find things like name variations. If people are making donations, in my case, under a nickname or a shortened version of my name, we can find those matches based on the criteria, allow you to interact as much as you want, or you can automate as much of the matching process as you want using what we call a similarity score. So a lot of great functionality that we provide to really create clean, consistent data, and to give you time back in your day to actually focus on using the power of engaging networks and using the power of data that you're collecting, and less time being spent having to manually enter it. And what is the end result of all this? So what really does all this mean? Well, it's helping you create a healthy Razor's Edge database. And what defines a healthy database is going to be data that is fresh. So all of that data now that you're collecting inside of Engaging Networks, all of the exciting actions that you're collecting with your email solicitations and your online fundraising, being able to very easily and seamlessly bring that data into Razor's Edge. And then most importantly, keeping it clean. And as I said, down to a letter, down to a salutation can make a big difference. Don't fall into the same category where you're adding salutations to names that aren't accurate, because just like myself, that can create a sour, everlasting impression. And you can certainly lose donors just that way. And then most importantly, it's data that's complete. So even though you're using two completely different systems for different activities, Omatic helps you bridge that gap to bring that data in and out of Engaging Networks. And then also the connector allows you to push that data back into Engaging Networks as it may be needed. So it is certainly a two-way street there. So Stu, I will kick this back over to you.
Thanks a million. That was terrific. Thanks to both of you, John and Pat. That was great. We're getting close to wrapping up. We do want to leave some time for questions. I just wanted to kind of bring the point home that effective online and effective offline data consolidated is data centralization. Centralization is imperative because it ensures that end users, to the point that Pat just made, are getting current and clean and complete view of their donors and other supporters. And I use this slide a lot, but I think it makes a really good point. And that is, if I'm going from San Diego to Seattle, I may know a lot about Oregon and a lot about Washington and a lot about California, but if I don't know what order they go in and what the highways that connect them are, and that centralized or consolidated view of all three states in the order that they go in, I will not be successful in my road trip from San Diego to Seattle. Similarly, data works the same way. There may be data in different silos that people are very knowledgeable about or comfortable with, but the organization really needs all that data as a whole to see the whole view of where they are and where they're going, and how to effectively and efficiently use data. Data have to be able to flow effectively, efficiently, to ensure this integral view and the best possible constituent experience, which I think John and Pat have really done a great job of pointing out. So just some important takeaways on kind of wrapping it up. Online engagement has evolved faster and more comprehensively than the sector ever expected. And it's only going to continue, again, in ways that we can't really envision today. Data is going to look so different in 2025 and in 2030. And so we have to be prepared. Online and offline systems serve different purposes and they do different things well. So they need to be effectively integrated. whether best of breed, point solutions, integrated suite solutions, either way, the online engagement and the offline data have to be integrated to be used the most effectively. There are benefits to both models, but integrated suites like Engaging Networks offer a one-stop shop approach that benefits a lot of organizations using them. And lastly, centralization of data is imperative so that constituents and constituent audiences can be studied and worked and managed from a 360-degree view. This will ensure that better relationships can be built and more money can be raised and donors can be more effectively stewarded. And it is 10 before the hour. We will send this this PowerPoint deck out to everybody who attended this afternoon. So if you didn't take notes, don't worry about it. And I think Pat and John, we've got, I'm going to say about 9 minutes for questions, because I know that a couple of us here on the panel have commitments at the top of the hour. So I'm going to open up the chat and see if there are any questions.
And I'd actually received one earlier. It was, with Omatic being able to bridge that gap, is the connector bidirectional? The answer to that is absolutely. So not only do we allow you through an API integration to be able to pull all of that data that you're collecting inside of Engaging Networks very easily into Razor's Edge, being able to really do a lot at once. That API connector is also bidirectional. So it allows you to pull data out of Razor's Edge through query functionality. So if you can query on it in Razor's Edge, you can push that data into an Engaging Networks, and then you're able to clean up that data at the same time. So certainly a two-way street, which is how that connector really allows you to have full, complete control over that data in and out of Engaging Networks and Razor's Edge.
Terrific.
And feel free, if you all have any questions, feel free to use the chat box there, or I believe there's a questions tab as well, so either one will work. Certainly happy to answer anything at this time.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested in learning more about either Engaging Networks or Omatic, we'll provide contact information to reach out to us. And the way we approach standing up a new client inside Engaging Networks and then integrating to Omatic is that the professional services team at Omatic, who are experts at Razor's Edge and certainly know Engaging Networks well from this fantastic integration tool they've built out, and provide you with that suite of services to stand up, because ultimately every client's installation of Razor's Edge is configured differently one to another, because you have that flexibility to set things up the way you want to, and so to have that expert help to get your field mappings down is essential during that setup process. So that's something that occurs once at the beginning of that project, and then you have the ability to then go in, so you add a new field in Razor's Edge and you want to add that onto an Engaging Networks form. You as a client have that easy ability to go into the integration and make those updates yourself. So, but then certainly backed up by the fantastic team at Omatic for any of those updates. And then as we launch new features in the product, we initially tell our partners like Omatic about it so they can have a look at any of the integrations and see if there's anything they might need to add or update inside the product. So that way you're not left trying to figure out how to get some new function that we've built in the platform on over to Razor's Edge.
Terrific. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
All right, well, I don't see any additional questions or comments at this time, so certainly appreciate everybody attending today. By all means, if you think of questions along the way, or if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to us. We will certainly follow up after the webinar with some of those details. I want to thank you to Stu and John. Terrific information being able to share today. We absolutely love our partnership, John, with Engaging Networks and just everything that platform can do. We're certainly happy to have that partnership. And thank you to all of you today, not only for your attendance, but for everything that you do. Like I said, we're all of us here are very passionate about helping you to reach the power of your mission Certainly the more successful nonprofits we have, the better off this world would be. It's something that I truly believe. So we're here to help you do that in really any way that we can. So thank you to everybody. Please enjoy the rest of your day. And if you have any questions or comments along the way, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all.
Thanks a million, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Pat. Thanks,
Bye.
Stu. Bye.
Thanks, John. Bye-bye.